when you can't wait to prioritize it over something else, then that becomes the first thing in your mind on a regular basis. That's the point at which we're coping.
Recognizing it and like empowering each other to embrace it. And that was 20 years ago. Everybody was like, cat fights. Who's going to like shoulder through?
The Sober Boss Babe movement is allowing women to literally, like you said, align with themselves and make the inside match the outside so you can reach the next level, because you can get to that level, but it can come crashing down if you don't know how to stay there and take care of yourself and make yourself.
Welcome to another Million Miles, your personal lifestyle concierge with credibility. I'm Danielle Kiesling, and in each episode, I connect you with unparalleled access to authentic, credible voices from across the entire world of beauty, wellness, fashion, travel, and mindset.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to another Million Miles, where we explore conversations that help us live with more intention, more clarity, and more confidence. I'm your host, Danielle Kiesling, and today's guest is Heather Simcoe, a life and business transformational coach, founder of Complete Concierge Solutions, and the creator of the Sober Boss Babe movement. Heather is doing some powerful work helping high-achieving women redefine what success, connection, and confidence really look like without relying on alcohol or other old coping patterns. So with more than a decade of sobriety, combined with her background in entrepreneurship, leadership, and elite athletic training, Heather brings us a grounded and deeply practical perspective to a conversation that so many women and men, honestly, really need right now. So in a world where drinking is often woven into business, networking, social culture, Heather is opening up a new path, one built on self-trust, alignment, clarity, and real belonging, helping women who are sober curious, or simply questioning their relationship without alcohol learn how to show up fully as themselves in meetings, events, and everyday life. This is a conversation about identity, personal power, and what becomes possible when we stop outsourcing our confidence and start leading from who we really are. So let's get to it. And thank you, Heather, for joining another Million Miles.
Thank you for having me. So grateful to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I love talking to powerful women. Tell me your story. What led you down this path to create this type of community?
Quick life upbringing story. My parents were teenagers when they had me. I actually was born and raised in California, and they were married. That very quickly ended. My dad got custody of me and married the girl next door, who was actually 14 years older than me, which turned into Cinderella story. And I was cut off from my biological mom growing up. And so in that Cinderella environment, really learning how to put on the facade, living a lie, presenting a version of myself than who I was on the inside. And really, that was the norm of our household. But the whole family was teenage pregnancies, no college, like just complete, total normal, just brokenness. And I had aspirations. I wanted to be a pediatrician, or I was always around children. I was actually been self-employed since I was 11. I was the neighborhood babysitter. I got to go.
I was a neighborhood hairstylist. So yeah.
So I got to go to Lake Tahoe. Like I was booked all of the time. Like it was first come, first serve. So, and my parents were entrepreneurs. I've grown up in it. I've lived and breathed the self-employment since before I can even remember. And, but then fast forward high school, and this is the 90s, Clueless comes out. That's like the thing, right? And I end up, my stepmother cuts me off from my best friend, and I found my first coping mechanism, which was food, because I was a nerd. I lived in Silicon Valley, and so I didn't have access to parties, and my stepmother was controlling. And I babysat on the weekend. I'm not partying. I'm making money. A boss babe at 12. So I found my first coping mechanism in depression in food. And I went from being very athletic from freshman year to severely overweight by the time I came back from summertime, trying to fit in like the cute Clueless outfits. It was not a cute time for me. In the high school that I went to was a very just affluent. There were women or girls, I should say, who were on the covers of magazines. Like at the time, it was one of the only 5 overweight girls in my high school. They were either athletes or models. Like I was just surrounded by just all of that. And so it made push down that depression even more and more, in self-worth. And at home didn't help, verbal abuse. And so I got to the point where it was, the suicidal mindset versus do I just find a ticket out of here? So I pedaled to the metal and I made sure to get into college because that was my ticket out. And then we ended up moving to New York. I got in a bunch of schools on both coasts and we moved cross country where my stepmother was from in New York and landed in Hudson Valley. I left home at 17 and on my own ever since. Basically homeless, no driver's license, no car, bootstrapping it. So that entrepreneurial mindset, talk about problem solving. I've been doing that survival mode my entire life.
Yeah.
So college hits, I discover alcohol and college speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And I met my husband my second year of college. We started dating. And thank God we're still together. We've been together almost 30 years now, married 24 this summer. And he had an MMA school, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, before, like in its infancy of the industry. And
Yeah.
so I was going to be a school teacher, so I had the steady income. He was an entrepreneur. And he's like, all right, let's go. And so we self published books and DVDs, and we're on the forefront of instructional videos well before it was a normal mindset now where everyone's buying digital courses and the forum, which is now our community mindset. So we're really on the forefront of all that, building this huge empire in our industry. And
Okay.
college ends, I put down the drink, or everyone stops drinking and I continue. And I'm in this world where work hard, play hard. And so we build our business, build the empire, making tons of money. I leave my teaching job and we sell part of the business, move down to Florida. And I got in a car accident. I've been Mrs. New York. Tons of titles, making tons of money, and literally couldn't do anything anymore. And so that's where the alcoholism really started to spiral. And in Florida, you can get it everywhere. I'm in Naples. It's a tourist town. You can buy it at the gas station.
Exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's like CVS, eyeliner, and wine. I'm like, it was the perfect storm. And so we got down here and we had like literally everything life could give us. We were both on our own and homeless in our teens to semi-retired in our 30s and completely depressed. And so we're like, well, we need community. So we tried therapy, that didn't work. And then we found church. And that's where I met women in recovery for the first time in my life, which blew my mind entirely. I had no idea. I was like, you don't say that out loud. You don't talk about being sober, nor are you happy about it. Like, what does the matter with you? And
Yeah.
I was so grateful for that because those were the women that introduced me to the recovery program. And one would become my first sponsor. But it took a year and a half till I finally hit my rock bottom. I ended up like a year and a half in, not putting anything together, getting home. I couldn't drive past any kind of place that sold alcohol without grabbing it. And my husband was done. My daughter was traumatized, and that was it. And so, in the middle of the night, completely surrendered and finally asked God to remove it. And my anniversary is next Thursday, April 30th of 12 years sober. And that was my ground zero of literally finally surrendering to this awful disease that is addiction and starting this whole new version of who I am now with everything that I've gained. So that's how I'm here today.
The first thing that stands out is just like your vulnerability to speak about things that people don't want to speak about and don't want to talk about. And I think that, if more people shared their stories, this world would be a better place because
Yeah.
everybody's going through stuff right now, especially with the way the world is. I was on a podcast earlier today and it was with a doctor and we were talking about basically like what she calls drifting. And I was like, wow, what's drifting? And she's like, basically the theory of sometimes we don't even know why we do what we do. Like sometimes you don't know why you even like you formed a habit of like coming home, picking up the wine or coming home and like self-soothing yourself with alcohol or other methods of, addictions. And I think it's just recognizing that pattern. What was the moment that was so powerful for you that you were like, God, I'm surrendering? Like, what was that moment where you finally were able to step back and recognize that you had a problem?
Well, I had been exposed. I thought I was unique, that I could control it and negotiate with it. And the moment at which, because I could put it down for a little bit, like tiny periods of time, I pick up one and then it progressed so quickly. And my husband's my best friend. And I got home and for him to not talk to me is like, that's prison to me. Like I can't even imagine. And so to be completely alone in my thoughts, I can't call. And it's the middle of the night. Who am I? I'm not going to call anyone. And so that moment of which I really can't control this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Not wanting to do it and still being like, I can't not do it. And I'm hurting in myself and everyone around me, feeling suicidal. I'm like, I can't believe I can't kick this because I had broken every other chain in my family.
Yeah.
I got married before why isn't this key working? And so that moment at which like, wow, in order to control it, I have to let go of it. And that was a moment I was like, I asked God for help. I just said, okay, I cannot do this anymore. I just literally kneeled down on my floor, face down, wretch, just take this from me. Like I literally had nothing. It was the last answer I could think of at that point. And at that moment, that's where it literally the compulsion, like that need to drink was gone. There were other avenues. I had to rebuild myself from that. But that final moment of, wow, I'm truly an addict. I really can't control this. I can't do this alone. Fine. I give up. Like I completely threw in the white flag. Like I'm done. Threw in the towel. Like that's it.
Yeah. And has there since that day, have you ever had a trigger? Have you ever like gone to think, like reach for it? Is it a struggle or did it just totally turn off?
The compulsion did, but the mindset didn't. And so I had to build in tips and tricks. I had a wonderful community of recovery fellowship and working through everything. So I basically rewired my brain. So anytime that I wanted it, okay.
With over 26 years of real life experiences as a thriving entrepreneur, I'm here to bring you sophistication, insight, and expertise into every aspect of your life. This is Another Million Miles, where luxury meets authenticity and every step brings you closer to the life that you deserve.
It's like the more money I made, the more I got free stuff. It blew my
Yeah.
mind. I'm like, how am I so wealthy? I'm like, I don't have to pay for it anymore. You just give this to me. I was like, go from this poor kid to like, here, have as much as you want. I'm like, it blew my mind. So yes, that it was a culture for me as a way of life. I'm in Naples, Florida, man. Like this is high fine dining. I couldn't imagine my life without having that. So yeah, it was initially a change of culture. I had to stop shopping at certain stores because it was just that's where I used to grab my booze. They had like small wine bottles. And so what I forced myself to do is I allowed myself to play the tape, and I'm showing my age a little bit, but I would allow myself like to plot it out and be like, okay, where am I going to get it? What am I going to do? How am I going to hide it? And eventually I would let my mind go and know that I'm going to be hungover and blacked out and messed up the next day again. Why bother even starting? And so that was the tool that I did for myself, is just rewiring it and almost tricked my brain that it got it, and then reminded myself it was always worse, never better. And so eventually when I saw stuff, and even recently, we go to Disney World all the time, and that used to be my jam because you don't have to drive anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, great, I can't get a DUI in
You're
Disney
around
World.
kids, you're like, oh my God, I just need a drink.
Yeah. And so to be able to go there, like I'm revisiting places that I used to just always drink at. And most recent, like, it was so fast, I didn't even know it was there. I saw this whole, I was Shiraz, like red wine was my thing. That was my favorite. And I remember going to just grab breakfast real quick, and the wall of wine was there. And initially I was like, oh, wait, that's not a good, I don't do that anymore. But it was so fast. My mind almost went there, but I had built in that defense mechanism to go, nope, we don't do that, and reroute. So it's still there, but it's because I'm aware of it, it makes it so much easier for it to just dissipate. And
Yeah.
so that's at least it was when it comes to alcohol. What happened to me though, unfortunately, because food was my drug of choice, I went to food and ice cream after I put down the drink. And that's a whole other journey, which is honestly where I am now. I'm like, I have all this head knowledge and I can't even help myself. Like, what is the matter with me?
We are a human being, first of all.
For real.
And
Yes.
no matter what, we have human struggles.
Oh, yeah.
And
Everyone
yeah,
does.
I joke all the time because everyone's like, how do you juggle so much stuff? And I'm like, sometimes I don't. Sometimes like it's
Yeah.
a hot mess here.
Yeah.
Like what is people's perception sometimes isn't reality. So I love the vulnerability and I love the honesty. And like that's one thing that I feel like we get to have people like you on and just have these honest, vulnerable, real conversations. I think it just resonates with people so much because, we live in this world where people have I need to be perceived like this because of social media or of like these circles that I, engage in. And to be quite honest with you, once you start opening up and talking, and I'm sure that this happened to you, and as you tell your story and why you've created the community that you have, you realize that there's so many people that are dealing with the same struggles every day, but they
Everyone's got
just,
something. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone's got something. We're all human. It's just, are you willing to look at it and change it before it ruins your life? Is really, that's the point at which the rubber meets the road. And everyone's putting on that. If you don't show weakness, people are going to use it against you. That's survival. It becomes self destructive. The more successful you are, the more the wall is up, the more facade you have to create, the more people think that you're perfect, the more you're hiding and just broken on the inside. And you move further and further away from who you are as a person. I was exhausted from wearing too many masks. I was done. That's what really finally broke me at the end of the day. I'm like, who am I when I walk into this room? Which version of Heather am I? You start losing track.
I've had my own like struggles too. And it was within the last 3 years that I've just gotten really clear about like, what am who am I trying to prove? What am I trying to like? I am who I am. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, I say. And
Me too. I like
this,
me. I'm good.
I might live in my own world, but somehow I get
Yeah.
around the world and like
Yeah.
somehow figure it out. So,
Yeah.
no.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about like what you're doing now, what you're building, and like what are the next steps for you?
Yes, there's so many wonderful things going on. And this, especially being a personally recovering addict, is removing the stigma of addiction itself because it is a mental illness. It is something that needs to be a lot more awareness. And the biggest thing, especially where what kept me from getting help was I thought I was a bad person, not understanding that it's an illness. It's a disease that needs to be treated. You're bad. You're not bad getting good. You're sick getting well. Honestly, I have a 21-year-old daughter. The younger generations are so much more aware of mental illness that they're more in touch with this, which I find so amazing. To create the idea of sobriety being something beautiful to hold on to, sobriety in your mindset, being well, mentally, emotionally, and physically, what we're putting in our bodies, food wise, what kind of emotions are we reacting? Are we holding on to them? Are we angry all the time? And then how you're taking care of your mind. Everyone's got their own version of no one's perfect. Everyone's got some kind of mental illness they're dealing with, whether it's OCD, ADHD, that we got all the acronyms out there. Everyone's got a version of something. And when you can look at your mind and body as being sober as a whole and not make your coping mechanisms, not necessarily coping mechanisms, but living on an aligned life, you can then, before a coping mechanism becomes your detriment. I mean, alcohol and drugs, like mostly drugs, but most of the things we lean on, you don't have to abstain from them. They can become parts of your life without having to give them up. So the sober boss babe movement is learning how to take care of your mind, body, and soul basically as a whole so that you can maximize. Sober means being sober and clear minded. So you're clear, you can make good decisions. You don't have to worry about covering up dark circles because you got enough, sleep the night before. You know you're functioning because you have the right nutrition in you. You're taking the right vitamins and taking away the stigma of getting to do something and aligning yourself so you don't have to lean on a coping mechanism that becomes an addiction, which I mean, I lost an entire business over. I didn't even see it coming because I was so caught up in everything that was going on that a sober boss babe movement is allowing women to literally, like you said, align with themselves and make the inside match the outside so you can reach the next level because you can get to that level, but it can come crashing down if you don't know how to stay there and take care of yourself and make your self-care match what you're doing for everyone else. And boss babes, man, we are people pleasers. We're running hot, learning how to eventually slow down, take care of ourselves as much as we're taking care of our businesses and everyone else. We forget about ourselves. And that's when you burn out. You put yourself on the back burner, like, well, I got to answer the next email. I got to do this. I got to do that. Instead of, okay, what do I have to do for myself first? And I'll have the time for doing all of these. And actually, I'll be more productive when I'm in better care of myself. If I'm running ragged, I'm tired, I'm short, I'm snapping at my employees. Because what happens is you can't fire yourself, but your employees can quit. Your customers cannot buy. Your business partners can either sue you or leave. So everyone can abandon you if you're not taking care of yourself. It doesn't have to look so extreme as an extreme addiction and a complete and total breakdown. So that's where the sober boss babe movement is just teaching women how to be sober as a whole. And then the community, I have an online community, my concierge coaching, because everyone's so different. The one thing I've learned, there's not a one size fits all at all whatsoever.
No.
Everyone's a little bit different. And I think we've gotten addicted to the magic bullet, the magic potion, that in order for something to stick, unfortunately, it just takes time. When you want your makeup done, your hair done, you're in the chair for several hours for it to look as good as it's going to. They're not, a top bun is 3 seconds. That doesn't look great. You know what I mean? Unless you're
Yeah.
Cinderella going to the ball. But for the most
Yeah.
part, good things take time. And I think we've gotten away from that because we're so used to quick fixes. And so to really have that, learn how to find that balance. Then when chaos hits, when things happen, you're clear headed, you have the space for life to happen, which it will because we're human. People are going to get sick, illnesses, everything, things are still going to happen, but now you have the space to do it. And you're now responding instead of reacting. You're not on this like defense mechanism. You can actually walk into a room ready for things to happen instead of, gosh, this now too. I already have 800 things that have gone wrong today, that you can prevent by just reorganizing sometimes your calendar. It can be really simple sometimes.
Yeah. Mindset
Mhm.
is a lot of this.
Yeah.
And it's like that downward spiral that I think, like the universe, like it like attracts like. So if
Yeah.
you're you're on that downward spiral, like, I feel like the minute you, like, cave into it or cave into your bad patterns or habits, like, you're just gonna continue the spiral. I think recognizing those times, I don't know about you, but, like, I've gotten to a point of my I'm like, "It's not that important. I am not saving. I am not a surgeon. No one is on my
Mm-mm.
tape. I don't have
Yeah.
to, like, the damn email, like, sorry, I couldn't get I didn't have access. My internet went out all day. I don't care." Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
It can
it's
wait.
just
And yeah, we've gotten so
wait.
caught up in everything having to be so fast. What's waiting till 5 a.m.? And if somebody's forcing you to make a quick decision,
Welcome to another Million Miles, your personal lifestyle concierge with credibility. Here we go beyond surface level advice. We dive deep into transformational insights from experts who set the standard in their fields.
you have to really question their motive in them trying to make you make a quick decision for their own version of manipulation. Everything
Yeah.
can wait. Everything can wait till morning after a good night of sleep. Like nothing has to, almost the faster it is, the more likely you are to make mistakes and or things to go wrong as opposed to taking your time with it. And we're so rushed with so many things unnecessarily.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So, I know people listening to this, and could be one of them. I live in a high pressure job, the same, like networking, everything is literally based around like dinner or drinks.
Yep.
You get to a point where you're like, do I cope? Am I creating patterns? How do people recognize if they need to make a change or if they're using coping patterns to literally hide their feelings or, flush away the day?
Everyone knows inside what that is. When you can't wait to prioritize it over something else, like that is the first thing on your mind all the time. Like, I can't wait to
Mhm.
get that glass of wine. I can't wait to have that piece of cake. I can't wait to get whatever that hit is. I can't wait to get on Instagram and check the next post. When that becomes the first thing in your mind on a regular basis, that's the point at which we're a coping mechanism, and then it just becomes habit. Like, how many of us go on our phone and we immediately hit our email button and not even think about it, or Instagram or TikTok? Like
I know.
a lot of those I push to a separate page, so I force myself to have to think about it before I scroll to it. You have to recognize it, and everyone know. Like I said, when your head hits a pillow, everyone knows what they're struggling with. They're just not willing to either look at it or talk about it.
Or identify it. Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
what I would say to anyone listening to this is like addiction, to your point, and you just said it, like addiction doesn't mean you have to be addicted to alcohol or drugs. There is addiction to social media. There is addiction
Mhm.
to just, I mean, like, there's a lot of addictions that like
Yes.
people can have that like doesn't necessarily mean that they're consuming alcohol or, drugs. And I walk through life now and like I'm in an industry where social media is really important, but like
Mhm.
literally have to put time and effort into putting up boundaries because I'm like, I do not want to go down. Like, I don't have like the mental capacity or the
Mhm.
brain space or
Yeah.
just endless scrolling. But I
Yeah.
see people all the time in between doing work, in between doing clients, in between. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
You're
like,
losing so much life. Think about what you could do and be productive with that. The relationships you're ignoring because that's what I mean. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to share with people. You don't have to be an addict to be addicted to something. You
correct.
don't need to go to rehab. It doesn't have to be so extreme to understand
Yeah.
that you might be addicted to something. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Just recognize that behavior and
Yeah.
see where it could be harming you and just rearrange. We're caught up in so much of a consumer world that you can still consume, realize at the point at which it's detrimental to yourself, your relationships, your self-image, finding that healthy balance, which it's almost an oxymoron trying to tell people have a healthy balance in their life nowadays. We're so far removed from it.
Oh my gosh, I know. Like, I have a very healthy balance in my life, and like, but it is a constant job. I put it on my calendar. I
Hmm.
put personal time on my calendar every single day. I can't imagine what I would feel like if I didn't do that. When you can't think about like anything else but that, like, what's going to give me that high today? I was like, when you said the question, I was like, yoga. That's like my high, and I'm like, wow. So like, even developing healthy
Yeah.
patterns, yeah, healthy habits, like one step at a time here. You can wake up and go, what am I craving today? And it's like a class, Pilates or a cold plunge or a sauna session or something to like give back to you or like maybe a conversation with your partner.
Yeah.
I mean, I think prioritizing those healthy habits are so important. And I love that you are creating this community around you have your story with alcohol, but like having a community around it's really like almost like a habit forming community. And I think that's really powerful.
Well, and we're not there to judge each other because everyone's got something different. And when you can share it and steam valve it safely among other women and everyone's got their stuff, it alleviates the pressure, the norm, the need to hide it. And it takes the power of the compulsion away from it. Because there's also the hit and knowing that you're hiding it, the adrenaline rush of getting away with something is part of
Yeah.
it as well. So the minute it loses that power, it loses that power. And now you're like, oh, then you can think clearly and it's no longer there. Same thing. I can be addicted to working out. I can be addicted to work. I can be addicted to something that is in essence seems productive and healthy. Even, extreme diets or extreme, I always joke, I'm like overcompensation or deprivation. I get caught in that all the time and finding the healthy balance of I eat healthy today. I don't need to go on a juice cleanse for 2 weeks to finally get to my weight. Slow and steady and healthy. And that almost is more difficult trying to live in that middle for the sake of being in the middle than the extremes. And like I said, the extreme of it is part of the hit. And most people don't even recognize it. And so that's part of the journey too. And having a safe place where people are like, yo, me too. It's so rare for the most part. Most people, and that's where this fellowship world of recovery, we're fortunate because we're so nuts. We say these things and it feels normal, but everyone else is still on guard. It's like, it's okay. You can let us, you have a safe place to let us know what you're dealing with. It could be, I had one person, she literally, her thing was she stored toilet paper. Like she couldn't stop buying toilet paper. Her addictive, I kid you not, her addiction was buying toilet paper. Like where else do you find a place that you can safely laugh at the fact that like during the pandemic, she got addicted to being like now she doesn't need to buy for like probably the rest of her life. It's like Price is Right version of it. But it seems silly, but think about how much money she could have used towards something else. So she's buying something we're human. There's always something strange. It's just
Yeah.
the funniest
That's
things I run into, but no judgment. Hey, everyone's got their own stuff. And so to have a safe place to be able to do that is a beautiful part of that journey. And then you're in line with yourself. You're like, oh,
yeah.
I am. I'm not alone in all of this. And instead of drifting and all this post pandemic and isolation to really come
Right.
together as people and bring each other back up, I think we're in that craving zone of needing and wanting a safe place to actually be ourselves. And we're
Yeah.
tired. Everyone's just tired. We're all just done with everything the way it is. It's like, can we just all be ourselves? Really? Like, I'm tired of faking. It's
Yeah. I mean,
exhausting.
somebody asked me the other day, like, what's your superpower? And I'm like, I don't know. I probably my vulnerability. Like I show up with these big brands and these, big jobs, and I'm just who I am. And like I'm like, what needs to get done? Like I don't, it's not about me. It's about, like the people around me that I'm there to serve. I love the idea of having this like a sisterhood community of like just people that you can be real around and have those stupid conversations like I'm addicted to buying toilet paper. I mean, I haven't heard that one yet, but
But
wow.
to have a safe space to be able to express those things and look at it and go, "Oh, okay." And then where else am I looking at? That where can I now that I can see that behavior in myself, how can I
Yeah,
then use that energy, and especially as boss babes, how do we now use that energy to something so much more productive? What
yeah,
can we do in our business? Like what with that extra energy, what would take you 2 hours because you're exhausted can get done in half the time. Now you have
yeah,
more time to yourself. Like, we're already so great at what we do. Imagine taking away the things that are holding us back, how much further propelled we are as individuals. Women are finally going to take over the world. That point.
I've been saying this for a while. I feel like it's an era of really powerful women. And yeah, I think women are, they're hitting their stride and we've always had it. I think that we're recognizing it and like empowering each other to
Yes,
embrace it. And that was
exactly.
20 years ago, it was like more like everybody was like cat fights and who's going to like shoulder through or elbow their way to the top in a men's world. That projection has changed a lot. So it's really great to talk to powerful women that are empowering women and
Yeah,
lifting, the women around them up and the next generation, like our children.
it's time. Yeah. I have a 21-year-old daughter. It's like, let's go. I mean, it's our time. Honestly, how many thousands of years? It's time.
I agree. So how do people get involved if they are listening to this episode and want to be part of this community?
Yes. So my website, heathersimcoe.com, I can also send you have a link tree which has everything. The other thing I'm really super excited about, because I just put some of the dates down, is I'm doing, because I live in Naples, Florida, I have a beautiful building, and a Sober Boss Babe retreat is in the making for mid-October to come meet other boss babes, reset, give yourself a vacation. So that is in the works. There's a wait list on the link tree now. But my website, all the links to everything, all my social medias are all Heather Simcoe. So if you want to follow me and just meet some other extraordinary women and find a place where you can finally find that growth and propel yourself, that's where you get me.
Love it. If you're listening to this and have not been in Naples, Florida, it's absolutely beautiful. So this is a great location, great destination. And just, honestly, I always say this when I'm like at events and reach out. Like anyone listening to this episode, all you have to do sometimes is reach out and, inject yourself, involve yourself, and like surround yourself with people that lift you up. So Heather, honestly, if you want to say one last thing to tie this up, what would it be to this audience?
You don't have to lose everything to start over again. You can start over now. It's up to you.
Yeah. Awesome, girl. Well, let's outro. But Heather, honestly, I appreciate you so much for taking the time, coming on, talking to the audience of Another Million Miles. I think that we can all agree that Heather reminds us that true confidence isn't something that we have to pour into a glass or perform for a room or even borrow from outside validation. It's something that we have to build from within. So her story and her work, for me, are powerful examples of what can happen when we choose clarity, alignment, and self-trust over habits that really don't serve us. So if this episode resonated with you, make sure to share it with somebody who needs this message. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, follow Heather on her journey, and follow along Another Million Miles for more conversations designed to support your growth in beauty, wellness, mindset, business, intentional living, and women's boss babes. So as always, remember your life isn't found, it's created. So see you next time on Another Million Miles. And thank you again, Heather.
Thank you for joining me on Another Million Miles, where luxury and authenticity meet to enrich your journey. This is Another Million Miles, and I'll see you on the path ahead in our next episode. Until then, keep embracing the journey, savoring each moment, keep dreaming big and moving closer to the life you envisioned, and traveling afar.